Hello everybody, my name is Kayla and welcome to episode 2 of Drink Your Boba. So today we are going to talk about my Taiwanese identity and what it feels like growing up in Taiwan and my whole identity crisis feels. So we got a long story ahead. So I'm going to split this into a few parts. I'm going to start with my background. And before I do, if you're enjoying the vibes of Drink Your Boba, grabbing your piece of boba, grabbing your yam, grabbing your whatever snack you have, make sure to give this podcast a follow, a rating, comment on the YouTube channel on anything you feel about of this podcast because we want to spread the Asian joy. And that's the purpose of this pod. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start a bit of my personal background. So I'm Kayla. I'm 20 years old. I'm currently in Tokyo, Japan on an exchange semester. I've been here for 2 months and I have 2 months to go of my time in Tokyo. It's been pretty cool. It's been life-changing experience. So I will probably do a whole episode of my Tokyo experience in the near future. But for my personal background, my last name is Lee, so I'm very obviously Asian. I have black hair, and I was born in Hong Kong in 2004, and I grew up. I would say, like, when people ask, where are you from? I would say I'm from Taiwan, because that feels most authentic to myself. But on paper, I do have a Hong Kong ID because I was born in Hong Kong, and a Taiwan ID because I grew up in Taiwan, and also, plot twist, a Canadian passport because my parents are Canadian. But to make it easier to explain, I was born in Hong Kong. I probably lived there for, 9 months to 1 year. I'm honestly not really sure. But after that time period, my parents moved back to Taiwan, where I spent the majority of my life. And I went to school in Taiwan. I lived the Taiwanese life, the Taiwanese culture. But I feel like my family has I don't know how you call it, like the anti-immigration story. Because the reason I'm Canadian is because my parents are also Canadian. And the reason that my parents are also Canadian is because my dad's mom, aka my grandma, immigrated my dad's whole family to Vancouver, BC in, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I'm honestly not too sure. But all I know is that from my dad, he grew up in Taiwan, Taipei in particular, and he moved everything of his life. He just boop, boop, landed in Vancouver, BC from grade 4 onwards. So he went to grade 4 elementary school, all the way till, I honestly don't know if he ever graduated. I think he did. I don't know. He was always the kid who skipped school and was the bad kid, quote unquote. He never went to school. The only reason my grandma found out that my dad was not in school was because my dad's school principal called my grandma and asked her, "Hey, where's your child? He's not in school." And my grandma would be like, "No, he went to school. I saw him leave the house today." And the principal would be like, "No, he's not here." And that's how my grandma found out that my dad was not in school, but he was out in the playground as a 10-year-old little Taiwanese boy who didn't speak any English in the middle of Vancouver, BC, Canada. So that's a bit of my dad's story. So he grew up there from elementary school all the way till college. I don't know if he ever did college, to be honest. I should ask him about it. I just never got the full story of it. And as to my mom, she grew up in Taiwan for the whole childhood life. Like, she did kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school. And she went to Canada, I think, right after she graduated from uni, or I don't know if she ever graduated from Taiwanese uni. Oh my god, this podcast is making me realize I need to ask questions of my family because I don't know where my family history is. But I know that she went to Canada because her brother's wife got a job in Canada and they were moving and they just took my mom. I'm honestly not sure. This is probably maybe falsified information, but my mom is the youngest in her family of 7. She has 6 siblings and she's, I think, 18 years apart from her oldest sibling. So basically she was the literal child of the family. So when her brother's wife got a job, they just took my mom with them and went to Canada. So I think that's where my parents met. They met, obviously they met in Canada. I honestly don't know my history. I wish I could tell you guys the story, but I really am not clear of the story, which is, I think, a shame of me. So I really need to deep down, ask them the story. But yeah, the anti-immigration part comes where they, like, the whole family, my grandma, their whole family, like my grandma's 2 older sisters, everybody went to Canada. Everybody sold everything they had in Taiwan and just immigrated to Canada 40, 30 years ago. And some family members, like my grandma's 2nd older sister, is still in Vancouver, Canada till this day. Like I went, the last time I went to Canada was 2022. I did 1 semester of UBC and then I dropped out. Like, that's a story for another day. But their whole family is still there. Like my grandma's older sister's son, her grandchildren, all in Vancouver, BC, all like fully Canadianized. But my grandma and my grandma's oldest sister, so there's 3 sisters, 2nd sister is still in Canada, oldest sister and my grandma, they all immigrated back to Taiwan. So I don't know what to call this because my dad's generation is the only generation that technically immigrated, but they're Canadian because they lived there for 30 years of their lives, but they immigrated back. I feel like when I hear about Asian immigrant stories, it's usually the family immigrates to Canada or US or whatever and they just stay there for the entirety of their generations. But my grandparents' families immigrated back from their immigration to Canada. Like they unimmigrated. I really don't know how that works, but either way, they lived long enough, they contributed long enough to the Canadian society. I mean, my grandma literally ran a whole Chinese newspaper there, and she was a kindergarten teacher. She ran a whole kindergarten, not speaking a word of English. I honestly don't know how she did it. Like she just did all Chinese, all Mandarin, and she survived there with 4 kids, with obviously my grandpa. I don't know how they did it, but they immigrated back, I think, like right near when I was born-ish. The whole family, I don't know what happened with what like decision clicked in their mind, but they all, except for the 2nd sister, packed from Vancouver, BC, back to Taiwan, where we are originally from. Like my blood is Taiwanese. Like I'm fully Taiwanese, my parents Taiwanese. So on paper and blood, I'm Taiwanese, but because my parents are Canadian, I'm also Canadian. And so I have like 3 citizenships, so which makes it hard to explain to people where you're from because I am from Taiwan. But I mean, it's not like the worst thing in the world. I've heard worse stories from my exchange stories. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the beginning, I guess the context of my Asian identity crisis that I've been facing for many years, because I was this close to being Canadian who actually grew up in Canada. Like I was genuinely this close to being full-on Canadian with 0 ounce of Asian, like growing up an Asian in me. Like I can't imagine how different would my life be. Oh my god. Because this is me now, and I grew up fully in Taiwan, in the Taiwanese Asian culture. Imagine if I grew up in Canada. Oh my gosh. My life would be completely different. Wow, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. That's my dad's childhood. He grew up in Canada, so he could tell me about it. Like the last time we visited, 2022, he took me to his elementary school, which is still open in somewhere in Vancouver, BC. Probably Richmond. I honestly forgot, but somewhere there. And he took me to his Safeway he worked at, the Safeway he always went to. He also worked at a miso company in Vancouver. Random plot. And what did they do? Yeah, it took me, I think my dad went to BCIT, British Columbia Institute of Technology. Yeah, and my mom went to UVic, University of Victoria, for, I think, English classes, because she went there with zero English at all. And now they both work fluently with English. I mean, obviously, I'm fluent in English, so it worked out. The immigration with English language learning worked out because my grandparents, they were the ones that took my dad's family to Canada, but they still to this day speak zero English. And they were the ones that were getting paid to raise a whole family of 4 children. I don't know how they did it in Canada, like zero English. I honestly don't know how they did it. Props to them. But yeah, so that's a bit of my background. Really, I don't know, did I overcomplicate it? Does this make sense? Or did you guys just, you talked about, like, this, it's not that. It's not that. I really don't know, but I guess people say why my English is so good. And my identity crisis, it comes from, I grew up in Taiwan. Like, physically I was in Taiwan, but the media I consumed was all Canadian and Western media. So when I was young, the cartoons I grew up on, Caillou, hello, Caillou, da 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 da, each day I grow some more, I'd like to explore the world of Caillou. Yeah, that's the cartoon I grew up on. And the Backyardigans. Oh, I loved the Backyardigans. What else did I watch? Ni Hao Kai Lan, that's the profile picture I put for my personal YouTube channel, because I don't know, I just really liked her, and she's the first Asian girlie I saw on the television screen, which is the reason of my identity crisis, because I watched all Western media. But I grew up in Taiwan, so like, the people around me, everybody looked like me, everybody looked Asian. But in my mind, because all the cartoons and the media I consumed was of English descent, was of Canadian or American descent, I thought that in order to be cool, you had to be not Asian, which is boo, the wrong mindset. I mean, my parents only showed me those cartoons because they wanted me to learn English in the most natural way possible, which obviously worked. But yeah, I really thought that being Asian was lame. Boo, boo, tomato, boo, boo. Yeah, because Kai Lan, out of all the cartoons I watched, was the only Asian character that looked like me. I watched Sid the Science Kid, Blue's Clues. There's so many more. Phineas and Ferb. I loved Phineas and Ferb. I mean, Candace, go off, girl. I love that cartoon. Was really fun, and I watched so many other cartoons I honestly can't remember, but that's just to give you the gist of my childhood and a bit of my formulation of my frontal lobe from the ages of 0 to 10. Yeah, that was my cartoon phase. So those were the things that literally shaped my brain to be the person that I am today. And it was honestly really confusing, because I thought it was normal. Like, I thought, like, in school, I would speak Mandarin, Chinese to all my classmates, like, hi, 大家好, and like just self-introduce yourself when you're going to class, like a new class. I learned everything in Chinese, like, even to this day, like, obviously, I do math and all Mandarin Chinese, like, that's how it works in my brain, like, or like, I do, like, 三六九, da-da-da-da, like, I can't do math in English, no, because I grew up in Taiwan, obviously, duh. But the cartoons I watched, everything was in English, and it was really confusing because my real life was completely different from my media. Like, my brain life was completely different, because in IRL, like in real life, everyone was Asian, everybody looked like me, and nobody watched English cartoons, which also was another point of major confusion, because I remember in elementary school, like, I would watch 7 Supergirls. Yeah, that's how deep I was in, and I wasn't even in Canada, I wasn't even in America. I was literally in Taiwan, in Taiwanese school. I would watch, I remember I got 7 Supergirls shadow one time. I was super happy about that. And I was a Taylor Swift girl down. I loved Taylor Swift. Like, I was an OG Taylor Swift girl. Like, I was there for Mine, Mean, what's it called? For You? No, the one where she's in a purple dress. Fearless. Yeah, I was in her OG era, and I had the Cimarelli era. Oh my god, I haven't listened to those girls in years. What are they doing now? No idea. Last thing I know is the youngest one got married, and I don't know what happened to that. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, that's how deep in the lore I was, in the westernized media lore I was in. As a person who grew up in Taiwan, it was so freaking confusing. I did get my elementary school best friend to also watch Seven Supergirls with me because I really thought that was normal. And in school, I couldn't understand any of the references that they were talking about. Like, obviously, I watched some Taiwanese cartoons like 珍珠美人鱼、喜羊羊、美羊羊, like those Taiwanese signature cartoons. I knew of those, but this is so unculturedly of me. Like, I knew like I barely knew any Taiwanese artists. Like, I barely knew what was going on in Taiwanese media. As a person who literally grew up in Taiwan, like, this would make sense if you were like my distant cousin who is still in BC, who grew up his whole life in BC. Like, though he's Taiwanese, he literally, like, he went to Vancouver school, Vancouver kindergarten, Vancouver elementary school, Vancouver friends. Like, that would make more sense to not be in touch with your cultural identity. But I was literally in Taiwan, going to Taiwanese school, and I couldn't name 5 Taiwanese artists. It was just, oh, I don't know, man. My childhood it was just so freaking confusing to me because I thought that I was the cool girl. I thought I was the, wow, I know Taylor Swift. Wow, I know Pentatonics. Like, I thought I was the cool girl, but in reality, because I was physically in Taiwan, I was the girl who was left out on major culture conversations because I didn't know what was going on. Like, obviously I watched Taiwanese news and stuff. I just mean from like a media consumption perspective. The media I consumed was completely different from the media my classmates consumed at elementary school. And I firmly believe that the media you consume drastically impacts the person that you are and the thoughts, the behaviors that you become to have. So just by the media consumption standpoint, I was miles apart from my classmates, which just added a lot of confusion to me. And I think I started to realize my confusion when I became a teenager. I would say like starting age 14-ish, because I watched Dance Moms, okay? Like, I remember I would come back home from, I think, grade 6, grade 7, I don't remember, but like, I would come home, I would go on YouTube, Dance Moms, I would watch the live episodes as they were airing. I was there when Maddie was still in Dance Moms. That's how ingrained in the American Western culture without knowing anyone that was of Western culture. Because all of my friends, all the people I knew IRL in real life were Asian, were Taiwanese. They all looked like me. But mentally, my besties were all American Canadian people. And that was super hard to understand as a person who did not have her frontal lobe developed yet. And it's still hard to understand. I'm still coming into terms with understanding myself, my identity, my connection to my Taiwanese self, and who I am as a person, because, girl, it's hella confusing. It's, girl, so confusing. Like, even now, the media I consume now is of Western culture. Like, voluntarily, the media I feel most comfortable in consuming is of Western culture, because that's the media I grew up with, is media from Western culture. And yeah, I still live in Taiwan, and yeah, I still, like, okay, I'm in university in Tokyo, like, on exchange right now, but like, my family's still Taiwanese, the TV on my news is still Taiwanese, the cafe that I worked at this past summer, I spoke complete Mandarin, and it's literally in Taiwan. So I don't know, it just feels like there's 2 alter egos of me. Like, there's the alter ego of me now, which I'm speaking fluent English with y'all, Like I'm just being this is myself that I feel most comfortable in, the me I feel most at peace and feel most expressive in, which is me speaking English. And there's a whole other identity who speaks Mandarin and interacts with a Taiwanese society, because I feel like there's just completely different people. Like the me that my coworkers knew from my cafe job, I feel like it's completely different from the me that you know now, the me that's talking to you right now, if you know what I mean. Like it's just boom, 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 different in my mannerisms, in my actions, in my behavior. I mean, I'm still deep down the same person, the same personality. I'm still like a very nice person. I'm not gonna be rude for no reason. Nah. Like I'm still the same person, but it's just two different versions of me. So I feel like that's just a bit of me and a bit of coming to understand that it's okay that I'm like this, and it's okay that it might be confusing to me because I am Canadian too. So I have to realize that it is okay that I feel like this, because my parents want me to learn English so that I can, I guess, connect with my Canadian self. I oftentimes feel like I don't count as Canadian, but I'm like, on paper, I have a Canadian passport, so I am Canadian. So I am justified to liking Western media because I literally grew up on Western media. Though I was physically in Taiwan. Like mentally, I was in Canada, but physically, I was in Taiwan. I think that's the best way to describe the way I feel. I have felt for the most of my life. That's the biggest accumulator of my identity confusion, identity crisis even, because it's not the easiest thing to understand, because like I feel like I'm just emphasizing the same point throughout this whole episode, but like the YouTube videos I watched, Emma Chamberlain, like I literally watched her 2017 before she blew up. Like I literally remember I bought my first ever turtleneck. I still wear that to this day in 2017 because at that point of time she was wearing turtlenecks, and I guess she made it seem cool. I don't know. I was influenced. Count me influenced. That's why I like working in influencer marketing right now, because I was literally influenced. That's a conversation for another day. But yeah, that's just a big part of my identity crisis, because I had to come to realize that I'm Asian. Like I'm literally, like I am Asian. I have black hair, black eyes. I'm not blonde. I have to realize that being Asian is cool, because my mom would, like when I was young, I remember my mom oftentimes would describe me as 崇洋, which basically means that I looked up to American Western media a lot and downgraded Asian culture. I don't know if that makes sense, but not like whitewashing, but I felt that like American Western culture was above Taiwanese culture, and I was ashamed of Taiwanese culture, low key, high key. I think that was what that was. But my mom clocked that from me ever since I was 5 years old. I remember I was 5 years old. I went to 一大世界, which is an outlet mall in Taiwan, in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. And there was this wishing fountain where it's like the ones in Italy where you throw a penny in it and then you make a wish. And my wish, I remember I was 5 years old. My wish was that I threw my coin in the pond, and I wish that I had blonde hair. God damn, I wish I had blonde hair at 5 years old with my luscious black hair. And I wish that I was white, basically. I literally just wished I was white, because all the media I consumed, like all the cartoon characters, like Candace from Phineas and Ferb, Caillou, who else? All the cartoons I watched, they were all white people. And I just, I don't know, started to feel detached from my Asian self, because I looked in the mirror as a 5-year-old. I don't have blonde hair. I don't have blue eyes. I have black hair. And I don't know. I think that's the first moment in reflection that I realized, like, dang, girl, you really, really, really was 崇洋. You really looked up to Western media, and you really thought that they were better than the Asian self that you were. So, do I want to be white now? No, I'm obviously embracing myself. That's why I probably, don't hold me on this, but I'm probably never gonna dye my hair. My hair is black right now. If you can't tell from the pod, you can watch this on video. My hair is black. Hello, my hair is black. It is really, really, really dark. Like I've never dyed it before. I've never bleached it. I've never done anything to my hair. This is my hair. It's black and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. Woohoo, small wins. Not gonna be the 5-year-old who wants blonde hair anymore. That era is over. It's time to it's time that we embrace the era and the literal culture identity that we were born with, that we were given with. So yes, and my teenage years were a lot of identity crisis. I remember I had a whole phase where COVID, remember guys? I remember I was really into Harry Styles at the time, and you can literally go to my YouTube channel, Kayla Lee LL, that's just my personal YouTube channel. My first ever video I posted when I was 16 was a reaction video to Harry Styles' Fine Line. So yeah, that's my childhood. That was my teenage era. I remember I would play, what's it called? Like slowed down reverb. Oh my god, that's the word. Slowed reverb Harry Styles, Fallen. I am falling. Oh, I can't sing, but falling again. I'm falling again. I'm like really slowed down, really reverb, like really sad girl, depressed girl era. That was my teenage girl. That was my teenage. In the middle of Taiwan, looking at everybody who's Taiwanese and being more confused on my identity than ever, because in my Taiwanese, I don't know Taiwanese media, so am I even Taiwanese? But I grew up in Taiwan. But then I was born in Hong Kong. I can't speak Cantonese. I never grew up in Hong Kong. I only visited family there, like during some summers. Am I Hong Kong? Am I Cantonese? No, I am not. Am I Canadian? Heck no. I only visit Canada for family every few summers. Do I have any Canadian friends? No. What identity are my friends in? They're all Taiwanese. So you add all the things up, that is a recipe for identity crisis. And thankfully I've recovered. I'm proudly embracing my whole Taiwanese self now, and that's about me. So that is a very long story of my identity crisis, my learning to embrace my Asian self. And I'm still trying to indulge more in Taiwanese culture and Asian culture, which I do now. I read D-Card, which is Taiwanese Reddit, like every few days to try to keep up with the trends, and I just kiki with my friends. Obviously I won't, like, I act differently when I'm with my Taiwanese friends than when I'm like by myself. Like by myself in my dreams. Okay, I think I dream in both languages. I dream in both English and Chinese. But in my most authentic self, I won't be able to express myself like I am now in Mandarin. I could, but not to the extent, to the level of this, if you know what I mean. Because now I'm fully into it. Like I'm fully just, it's me and you. It's my therapy session. I won't be able to be this open in my Taiwanese self because, Taiwanese, Asian, what's that word? Not stereotype, but what's that word? Oh my god, I'm having a big brain fart right now. What is that word? Like the word, it's culture, something to do with culture, like something you just don't, taboo, that's the word. Yeah, with the Asian taboo, I won't be able to talk freely like this, which is just based on me, just myself and I. But yeah, I guess I hope this makes you understand me better. This makes you understand my perspective better and where I come from and how my brain works better, because this is like what I think about a lot of the times is my identity crisis, who I am, and trying to connect with who, like on paper, my different identities. And did I even tell you guys, I go to school now in the University of Hong Kong to try to reconnect with my Hong Kong South, which isn't working. I'm not fluent in Cantonese at all. I'm taking a Cantonese class, but it's not going well. So if you ask me where are you from, I would still say 99% of the time I'm from Taiwan. But I would say I'm Canadian. I don't feel Canadian enough to say I'm Canadian, but I'm like, on paper I am. And media-wise, I know all the things that are happening. Like, I literally work for a Toronto company for influencer marketing right now, so obviously I have to be tapped into Western media enough to understand and to be able to do that position. So that's a bit of my sphere. How do you say that word? Sphere. A verified sphere. Oh my god, I can't say that word. How do you spell that word? S-P-H-E-R-E? No, that's a sphere. Anyways, I'm really bad at spelling, so like atrociously bad at spelling. Like, my spelling is just oof. Sometimes my spelling is just really bad. Like, drastically. You know how I used to spell that word? I used to spell drastically J-U-R-A-S-T-I-C-A-L-L-Y. Drastically. Like, that's just wrong. And business, I used to spell it B-U-S-E-N-E-S-S. Because business, like B-U-S-I-N-E-S-S, busyness, that doesn't make sense with my brain. Yeah, I'm just really bad at spelling, so whoopsies. And yeah, I would love to hear about your identity. Please let me know if you have any identity crisis as like an Asian or as an American, as a Canadian, or whoever, like wherever you're listening to this from. I would love to know if you have any identity crisis and if this is just me and if this identity crisis of mine makes sense, because this has taken a lot of my brain cells for the many years of my life, especially for my teenage years of depression life, of figuring myself out. I'm now 20 years old, so I hope that I'm getting closer to understanding and accepting who I am and all my different, I guess, cultures, maybe? I'm still not too sure how to answer that question. Maybe I can do a 1-year update of Drink Your Boba season 2, year 2. I'll do a 1-year update of my relationship with my identity and see how it goes. But yeah, that's kind of all for this episode. It is 12:02 a.m. right now. I'm gonna show you on video. If you're watching on video, it's 12:02 a.m. I should probably wrap this up and go to sleep because I have a whole new day tomorrow. And yeah, oh my god, this podcast has been so fun. Please let me know any of your thoughts, any of your recommendations, anything you want to hear me yap about. I would love to do that, and I hope that you are having a wonderful day, and go drink some water, go eat some bomb food, and I'll see y'all tomorrow when I upload episode 3. Okay, love you guys. Hope you have a good day. Bye.